Former drug addict's family wants to reconnect with him. I am not Oop. Oop is you. Deleted. Trigger warning. Drug use and violence. Less than. First post, October 1, 2016. I was a pretty terrible addict between 16 and 22. I caused my family a great deal of pain and embarrassment during those years. I stole from them, frequently had episodes, and soiled their reputation. 2 failed rehab attempts. The final straw was when I accidentally broke my younger brother's nose in an intoxicated state when I was 21. They kicked me out and barred me from further contact. A year later, I was hospitalized after a dealer stabbed me. While I laid in bed for hours, I thought about all that I had done wrong, and vowed that I would quit. I thought I will collapse in the first month, but I have managed 14 years so far. I got a GED and took a low-wage job so I could pay back the money I stole. I sent the money in envelopes along with an apology and an address and phone number. No response. I tried again when I was 24 thinking enough time had passed. That time, they responded outright by writing that they were glad I had paid them back, but that they didn't love me anymore, that their lives were better without me regardless what I did, and in order that I never contact again. I was shocked. It stung badly and I even thought of relapse out of spite. But my support group convinced me I needed to accept they were simply gone. I did community college for 2 years, transferred to a university, and now work at my sober companion's landscaping business. I met Misa when I was 31, and were engaged and expecting a boy in January. Misa convinced me a year ago I should launch a Facebook page despite my original distaste for social media. I was surprised when my brother sent me a friend request a few weeks ago. Confused, I neither accepted or refused. He then sent me a message saying he had forgiven me about his nose and hoped we could reconnect. Cousins and my sister sent similar messages shortly after. Today, I got a letter from my parents saying they had been too harsh in our last contact and inviting me for dinner on Sunday. I shared this with Misa, and she begging me that I should at least hear them out. She believes in second chances. But I gave them 2 chances already and they scorned me. Their motive is somewhat unclear. They can't know about So or my unborn son because my posts on them are private. They also apparently decided together I should be forgiven. But whatever the case, I feel they waited way too long for reconciliation. Is Misa right or should I ignore them? TL. Doctor. Family wants forgiveness after disowning me for almost a decade and a half. So thinks I should take their olive branch. But I don't think so. Update October 21, 2016. I didn't show up to the dinner that I was invited to. I did accept my brother's friend's request, though, largely out of guilt over his nose. Although there's also that fact I was fairly close to him when I was younger. Apparently I have a sister-in-law and a niece, and he seems to be doing well for himself. He deserves all he has. We'll be meeting in person over the weekend for the first time in ages. I asked him why he contacted me at all. He claims to have tried finding me on Facebook for about 3 years, and mentioned finding me to our family after he did so. This apparently made them all decide that enough time had passed, so they followed his lead. I'm very glad I've made up with my brother, but I'm not really interested in reconnecting with the rest of them. It's been too long and at best we might be cordial strangers, which is worse than no contact. Any past love is gone and can't be brought back, so I'm not going to even try. So and my brother have tried to convince me otherwise, but my mind is set up at this point. TL. Doctor. Reconciled with brother, but have no interest in reconnecting with the rest of my family. I will mark this as concluded. It sounds very possible that the rejection letters came from the parents, and the rest of the family was never told, consulted. and the initial non-response. The family was right to cut him off. They were not wrong to refuse his attempts at reconciliation. However, when you go for the nuclear option, I don't love you anymore and my life is better without you in it, you must accept that it is the end. You can't come back from that. It's done. As someone who's had some pretty nasty addicts in my family, it's rough. At some point, you might have to block them out just to protect yourself and the other people you care about in your life. But OOP's parents really went scorched earth in their initial response. When you say you don't love a family member anymore, you can't walk that back. I'm proud of OOP for getting their life together, but I can't blame them at all for not reconciling with their parents. Sometimes paths just diverge and people gotta move on separately. Closure is a personal thing that rarely has everyone on the same page. Maybe someday the wounds will be healed enough for everyone. The parents were in the right to cut him off, but now they need to accept that he is in the right to cut them off. He attempted to make amends. Their response was to tell them they didn't love him any longer. I'm the child of an addict. I'm super low contact, 0 in-person visits, rare phone contact, absolutely no contact at all with my husband and children. She was abusive, handed me to P3D zeros, etc. I have an extreme dislike for her and the only reason we have such limited contact is to avoid family drama. But I still love her as my mother. And she's been told this. When you tell your child you no longer love them, you've told them that your love will always be conditional. And yes, the condition this time was an extreme addiction. But what about next time? If they're against divorce and there's a divorce, is that a condition? If they have a child who's gay, is that a condition? If they so much as get a speeding ticket, are they going to decide that he's not recovered and make that a condition? When you know that a person's love is conditional, not the relationship but their actual love of you, and that person is supposed to be the one who loves you unconditionally, any relationship becomes more stressful and damaging than none at all. OP was written off. From how he describes his own behavior, perhaps justifiably so, but he accepted that and moved on with his life. Now they have to accept that he had written them off in return and the relationship is dead. This is sad all around. OOP got told he was no longer loved after trying to make amends. And that would cut deep. It's understandable that after a decade, he'd have moved on. But it sounds like he had screwed up pretty badly and not just once. Assault, stealing, etc. It's understandable that the parents might not have trusted his initial attempts and lashed out due to pain, and maybe trying to protect themselves and the brother from more assault. But now that a lot of time has passed, they see OOP has really gotten better and have calmed down enough to reflect. What a sad story. I actually don't blame the family too much for cutting him off. It's not like the family didn't try to support him. 2 rehab attempts is not nothing. Also, someone being an active threat to the family is reason enough to cut someone off. Things were said and scars were left, and it's just an unfortunate situation all around. I feel like this is a situation that sucks, but it's probably best for everyone to leave it as it is. We don't know the extent of what OOP did to his family outside of breaking his brother's nose, so it could be much worse. On the other hand, it's good that OOP turned his life around and is doing better now. I personally don't see the point in reconciliation. It won't benefit either of them, cause all they'll think about is OOP as an addict, and all OOP will think about is how they declared they didn't love him anymore. This is just sad all around. When OOP wanted to reconcile, there hadn't been enough time for the family to overcome their wounds. And now OOP hasn't had enough time to overcome the wounds that they sustained in the harsh rejection. I hope they all are able to find happiness and peace in their lives. Recognizing that no one side is innocent here. You don't get to break someone's nose after years of stealing cars, stealing money, being volatile, and then decide that now is the time we should all forgive and forget. You also don't get to say, I don't love you and our lives are better with you, and then decide that now is the time we should all forgive and forget. 2 years is a blink when you're dealing with a violent, thieving, self-absorbed addict. It feels like a hell a long time when you're in your early 20s. But not long at all if you're old enough to be the parent of the young adults. That being said, I cannot ever imagine telling my kid I don't love them anymore. I will always love you, but you need to stay away until you can prove to us you are truly well. Would make sense. I don't love you anymore. Does not. As far as the young man goes. 7 years ago, my crazy, abusive, narcissistic, violent mother told me to drop dead. Funny thing, that was it. For me. Not the hitting, not the screaming, not the lying, but the statement, my heart will always be broken. But the love I had died that day. There is nothing she could do or say at this point to change it. I grieved. I mourned. I buried it. When they die, I will not attend their funeral. My relationships with my siblings are strained, reserved, non-existent. I have to protect myself and my children. Oop needs to protect his sobriety. I understand him. I'm happy for Oop. As the daughter of a longtime addict, I can understand the parents' feeling, but they should understand that they cut Oop off with that stern rejection years ago. Folks need to understand that if you go for the big guns, you have to follow through and use them. If you're still upset about the addict's behavior years ago and aren't quite ready to reconcile, just say that. Don't demand they stay away forever and then try to sneak in the back door or as the plus one with others who didn't cut said person off. My son has a drug problem. He's also schizophrenic, which he now takes meds for. I've been through the worst of it with him, but I've never given up on him. He's my son and I will always be there for him and love him no matter what. How can parents do this to their child? Go low contact if you have to. Don't let your guard down, but don't give up on your children. If a bad reconciliation might make him a danger to himself or his family, no reconciliation is better. I'm happy Oop is doing well and is reconnecting with his brother. It's understandable and pretty unavoidable that there is no interest in connecting with the remainder of his family. Their statement was unequivocal, and I'd leave it at that. But that they didn't love me anymore. That their lives were better without me regardless what I did. And in order that I never contact again. Addiction rips through lives like a tornado. I never blame people for trying to move on with each other, and I never blame people for deciding too much damage has happened and going separate ways. I get so annoyed when people try to convince me I need to connect with members of my family that I've cut off. Anyone who knows me would know I'm super patient and forgiving, so if I'm cutting someone off, there's a significant reason why. I'm sure the OOP's partner means well, but if someone tries to pressure or guilt me into rekindling a relationship with someone else after I've said no, that's a deal breaker for me. There's a difference between ghosting someone or cutting them off and telling your child all your love for them is dead. 7-year-old story. Hope Oop found peace in whatever form it comes in. A cautious, "we're not ready" response from his family would have probably sufficed at keeping the door open rather than slamming the door shut in OOP's face with a "thank you for paying us back. We don't love you anymore. Our lives are better without you." Then again, we don't know what the rest of the family felt like after whatever Oop did to them. Any which way you look at it, bad things were done. Atonement is happening, and all that takes time. Having support is better than not. Maybe things turned out better for them all after 7 years, including a lockdown pandemic. This is a hard situation. It sounds like Op tried to make amends, was told he was irredeemable and accepted the judgment and got on with things. His family made a choice. That was understandable and they're right. He then made his own choice and his choice is also understandable and his right. He feels that there is no value in renewing the association and he is correct. He did the work and moved on. You can't bring back the dead without getting into dark places that he clearly wants to avoid. It is better for everyone to let things be. For him it isn't broken. So there is no need to fix anything. Once the connection is severed, there's no point in trying to recreate it. Adult family relationships only exist in the context of the childhoods of those involved.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epic Haircast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.